Hey everyone, welcome to AI Deep Hallucination. Today's question is the highest frequency systems design question in Q2 of 2026. How would you design an enterprise AI customer service agent? Of all the candidates I've interviewed, fewer than 2 in 10 can answer this completely.
That low? Where do most people fail?
They jump straight to drawing Lang graph plus multi-agent plus RAG, 3 boxes connected by arrows, without asking a single business constraint question.
Asking business really matters? Customer service feels pretty standardized.
Standardized my foot. Anthropic repeats one line over and over. Many cases shouldn't use agent at all. The strongest counterexample is Klarna. February 2024, Klarna and OpenAI jointly announced AI customer service handled 2.3 million conversations in 1 month, equivalent to 700 full-time employees. The whole industry exploded.
I remember that number. The news was everywhere. The whole AI replaces customer service narrative rode on it.
15 months later, the CEO publicly walked it back. May 2025 Bloomberg interview, verbatim quote, "As cost unfortunately seems to have been a too predominant evaluation factor when organizing this, what you end up having is lower quality." Then they started rehiring.
Wait. But the Q3 2025 earnings report claimed AI was doing the work of 853 full-time employees as a positive narrative?
Right? The two narratives don't contradict. AI handled massive trivial tickets, but they later realized complex tickets still need humans. Forrester analyst Kate Leggett directly called Klarna almost the poster child for bad AI deployment.
So flipping the script, when an interviewer throws this question, the first move isn't drawing architecture, it's asking back about business.
Right? 5 questions to ask. Is your customer base B2C high volume but simple, or B2B complex but low volume? Long-tail complex tickets a few percent decide overall difficulty. Can a single deflection rate metric work? High-risk action compliance boundaries. Voice channel needed. Cold start or with history.
Okay, business is settled. Assume B2C e-commerce. How do we build the architecture? Can I draw now?
Yes, but here's the most important counterintuitive rule first. Single agent first, not multi-agent. We covered this conclusion in our ByteDance Deerflow 2.0 episode. Anthropic's own measurement, multi-agent systems use about 15 times more tokens than chats, almost 4 times more than single agent.
Didn't Cognition publish a follow-up in April 2026 saying, when multi-agent does work, did their position change?
They didn't retract, just softened. Verbatim, multi-agent systems work best today when writes stay single-threaded and the additional agents contribute intelligence rather than actions.
Translate that to plain English?
Main thread is still single agent, side agents only read, don't act. Customer service fits this pattern exactly, so it's not really multi-agent.
So how do you split the workload? When do you go agent versus not?
3 tiers, simple tickets, order status, password reset, policy lookup, just retrieval plus template, 1 LLM call, no agent loop. Medium complexity, address change, returns, single function calling is enough. Only truly complex cases get the agent loop.
How much exactly? What numbers do you give when interviewers push?
Reddy's review gives a customer service example. A React agent makes 5 to 7 LLM calls per interaction, workflow only 1. Stack that with Anthropic's 4 times token amplification, total cost is 20 to 30 times the workflow. Latency 2, agent 3 to 15 seconds, workflow 1 to 2 seconds.
Architecture and tiering are clear. How about RAG? Is pure vector still the answer? I got asked this in an interview and wasn't ready.
Pure vector is 1-year-old thinking. Current SOTA is hybrid plus contextual plus re-ranker. We covered RAG evaluation in the How to Evaluate RAG episode. This time we're talking retrieval itself.
Why doesn't pure vector work? I used to use pinecone defaults with just the dense pool.
Anthropic's customer service counterexample is the cleanest. Suppose a user queries error code TS999. An embedding model finds content about error codes in general, but might miss the exact TS999 match.
Vectors miss exact strings?
Right? Customer service is full of order numbers, SKS, error codes. Vectors can't see any of them. BM25 keyword search fills this gap.
How does Anthropic Contextual Retrieval actually work? I read the blog and didn't catch the key point.
Each chunk before embedding is fed to Haiku to generate 50 tokens describing what context this chunk has in the original document. That gets appended to the chunk and re-embedded. Stack BM25 plus re-ranker on top. Anthropic's measurement. Top 20 failure rate drops from 5.7% to 1.9%, 67% improvement.
What about GraphRag? We covered the anti-RAG narrative in the Carpathy Memory Library episode, but LinkedIn's KG RAG numbers look pretty strong.
LinkedIn's customer service KGRAG paper is genuinely beautiful. MRR up 77.6%, resolution time down 28.6%.
So should we go GraphRag immediately?
The same practitioner's retrospective, pure metadata filtering can hit 85% of GraphRag's performance with 30% of the effort. Only go GraphRag when you have strong relational structure.
How do you defend against prompt injection? My answer was adding, ignore subsequent instructions in the prompt.
Biggest pit: interviewer hears that and instantly knows you've never done systems design. That's a prompt hack, not architecture. Current SOTA is capability-based design. Google DeepMind's CAMI-L paper from March 2025.
Why does this layer have to be hard? How bad does it get if you mess up?
Air Canada case, November 2022, a Canadian's grandmother passed away. He asked the Air Canada chatbot about bereavement fares, and the chatbot fabricated a policy of refund within 90 days after travel.
Fabricated?
Yes, that policy did not exist. He paid full fare, was denied a refund, and sued. February 2024, the Canadian Civil Resolution Tribunal ruled Air Canada had to pay.
What was Air Canada's defense?
Audacious enough to shock the internet, they argued the chatbot is a separate legal entity, not their problem.
They actually said that?
The judge's verbatim retort, "This is a remarkable submission," then ruled, the chatbot is part of the website. The company is responsible for all information, whether static page or chatbot.
So when discussing guardrails in interviews, you must bring this case. It's a legal liability, not a technical bug. Other failure cases?
3 must-knows: DPD chatbot in January 2024 was jailbroken into cursing its employer and writing a complaint poem. 800,000 views in 24 hours. AI module shut down same day.
I saw the DPD screenshots. Writing poems trashing its own company. Pretty wild.
There's worse. McDonald's IBM AI drive-thru terminated June 2024. A viral video showed AI escalating an order all the way to 260 McNuggets.
260 McNuggets? The customer was probably begging it to stop.
Right? The Cursor Sam incident in April 2025 was similar. The support bot fabricated a single-device login policy, and users canceled their subscriptions in droves.
Guardrails are clear. How do you measure whether you did it well? Interviewers always push on metrics.
Remember one line? Deflection rate is a vanity metric. Yellow AI says it directly. Keeping a customer in a digital channel is a vanity metric if their issue isn't actually resolved. Klarna's reversal triggered exactly because they only watched containment, while complex ticket CSAT collapse stayed invisible.
What about benchmarks? Interviewers want concrete numbers.
How to Bench and Tau Knowledge by Sierra. How to Bench Retail Sonnet 4.5 era hits 86.2%. But Tau Knowledge knowledge-intensive customer service, best config GPT 5.2 high reasoning gets only 25.5% pass at 1, drops to 13.4% pass at 4.
Wait, what's the difference between pass at 1 and pass at 4?
Pass at 1 means it succeeds once. Pass at 4 means it succeeds 4 out of 4 times. In production, when users repeat the same question, the model has to be right every single time. SOTA consistency is only 13%. That's why you can't fully automate. LLM as judge has its own biases: position bias, verbosity bias, self-enhancement bias. We covered all 3 in the How to Evaluate RAG episode. Same biases apply to customer service evaluation.
What about cost and latency engineering? This is where engineers separate themselves.
Channel AI published a full bill, vendor self-reported, but the breakdown is rare in detail. Customer service agent at 15,000 sessions per month, dropped from $13,000 per month to 1,100, 92% savings. CSAT went up from 4.1 to 4.2.
Voice agent latency hard constraints? In case the interviewer pushes on phone customer service.
800 milliseconds. Beyond that, users feel laggy. Breakdown: STT 150, LLM 350, TTS 75, network round trip 100, processing 100, total 775, only 25 milliseconds buffer left. You must use streaming pipeline, can't wait for the LLM to finish a full segment.
After all this technical detail, the question interviewers always end with, can AI customer service actually replace humans yet?
Sharpest question of all, honest answer: nowhere close. Cinch surveyed 2,800 consumers in 2025. Only 5% prefer AI for support.
Just 5%?
SurveyMonkey 2,000 U.S. adults, 79% prefer humans. Qualtrics is even harsher. AI customer service failure rate is 4 times the general AI use rate.
Gartner reversing themselves. I heard about that. What exactly happened?
March 2025, Gartner predicted loudly, by 2029, AI will autonomously resolve 80% of customer service issues.
80%? That's a big number.
11 months later, the same firm slapped itself with a first-party survey. 50% of companies that cut headcount due to AI will rehire by 2027, and only 20% of leaders actually cut headcount because of AI.
Which scenarios absolutely require humans? Beyond user preferences, are there hard constraints?
Legal hard constraints. Financial disputes must go through Reg E. Insurance claims in many states require licensed adjusters. Medical diagnosis is restricted to licensed physicians, and AI giving legal advice runs into unauthorized practice of law.
Are vendors themselves cooling down too? Or is it only analysts pouring cold water?
Brett Taylor, Sierra CEO and OpenAI board chair on the Verge Decoder podcast verbatim. I think we're in a bubble, and a lot of people will lose a lot of money.
One of the biggest agent vendors himself calls it a bubble. And that Cognizant Wiener quote is the most savage. AI doesn't change corporate incentives, it scales them.
Right, verbatim, AI doesn't change corporate incentives, it scales them. Meaning, if your KPI is deflection, AI will more efficiently and consistently push customers away. Klarna's reversal didn't fail because tech was bad, it failed because incentives were set wrong.
This episode has insane information density. Architecture backbone, customer service rag soda, capability-based guardrails, benchmarks, cost breakdown, reality check. Covered everything.
What interviewers actually want to hear isn't your pretty architecture diagram. That you know which scenarios are guaranteed to fail, which metrics will lie to you, and which operations are legally off limits. The most important line Klarna's CEO said after the reversal was, customers must always have the option to reach a human. If you have an interview question you want us to break down, drop it in the comments. If this helped, hit subscribe and we'll see you next time.